Always help people remember who they are and feel into their power, feel into what their gifts and their skills are. I've really helped people let go of what no longer serves them and transform that into fuel for their mastery, for them to shift their life into the positive. The magic happens when you can hear your heart sing. Literally hear your heart sing. I just want you to know you were born for this, that you have everything you need to really do you this lifetime. So let's get started. Let's make magic together.
Recording?
Welcome, everyone. Victoria and Joan. Today we are so excited to bring together our show. Like we're dancing with joy, right?
That's right. We're kind of merging Joan of Angels with Fearless and Free today.
And we have quite a discussion today, right? On the gods, the ancient ones, and their role here on the planet and how they're impacting us today. So Victoria reached out with some questions and here we are answering them for you. So just for everyone to know, I'm Joan of Angels. I'm an intuitive guide. I help people remember who they are. I'm a transformational coach. And I'm at Joan of Angels. That's all you need to know for right now. And I've been studying this for a long time, actually.
Yeah. And so for those of you who are in Joan's audience, I'm Victoria, angelic walk-in Elohim of freedom. And I'm here for the spiritual freedom of humanity. And I did not know anything about these guys until Joan started telling me about them. So I'm excited to have this conversation because I just noticed the last couple of weeks that this whole inky and low, that they're coming around again. The subject matter is coming around again. And there's a lot of misinformation about them and also a lot of information about these gods and their relationship with the Elohim. So I'm an embodied Elohim, and Anunnaki and Elohim are not the same. Letting you know that right now. So that's some of the confusion that people have as well. So I'm excited about this conversation.
I am too. And it's interesting about all the confusion. So we could start by discussing who the Anunnaki were, okay, or are. And so the Anunnaki, quote, gods, are really not gods at all. They are beings that came from another planet. And they had advanced technology compared to humanity at that time. They were seeking gold for their atmosphere. Their gold had been depleted out of, well, their atmosphere had been depleted out of gold. So they were looking to find gold. They sent a runner down here, discovered a ton of gold here on our planet. And thus the Anunnaki, and Anu, the king of Nibiru, the planet up there, he sent his two sons down here, Enki and Enlil, to actually take over the planet. So they came here, they did take over the planet. They began mining for gold. They brought thousands of their people down here to mine for gold. And after about 100,000 years mining gold, the Anunnaki people rebelled. They were not happy. They didn't want to be slaves in the gold mine. So guess what they did, Victoria?
So you're going to tell us about the enslavement of humanity.
Well, yes, let's talk about the enslavement of humanity. So what they did is they decided to create a strain of a slave race to help mine the gold in the minefield. So humanity was created, and so there were two brothers, Enki and Enlil. Enki was really known as he was the scientist that was, I guess, the hybrid creator. He was the one who made test tube babies, basically. And they created a strain of, first they created the slave race so that the slave race of humans would go in and mine the fields and not question. So they became the caretakers. They were the gardeners. They tended the fields. Now, there were several other strains of humanity that was also created. So the Enlil, and so there was always a conflict between Enki and Enlil. They were given different parts of the earth to rule. Enlil also, there were strains using Enlil's genetic material also, if I recall. And then from there came more of the controllers, the ones who were given the overlords, the oversight. So we have the gods coming down, And what did they do? Well, there were gods in every town. Every city had its own god or goddess. And they were completely in control of humanity. Let's put it this way. Either you did their bidding, you brought them sacrifices, you even sacrificed your first kid, or they would smite you. So because of that, people said yes. People were living in constant fear, and they did what the gods told them to do. So that's how that began. We can fast forward to a time when Enlil was very unhappy because humanity and the gods had started mating together. So the days when the sons of God mated with the daughters of men. And suddenly the planet started shifting, and there were giants that began to roam the earth. Humanity became a tainted race. Enlil was not happy about that, and he was the one who said, we're going to bring down a flood. Do not tell the humans. Well, Enki was more of a supporter of humanity, in a little bit of a supporter, and he's the one who actually informed Noah and explained to Noah to build that ark to save that strain of humanity. But as you can tell, that wiped out the human population at that time, or most of humanity. And so these global resets have gone on for several times. That wasn't the first run around the block, where we actually have evidence that the earth has been completely wiped out, either by nuclear power or by floods, vast rains. We're not exactly sure, but this has happened. So for those who think the Anunnaki are here to help humanity, they're part reptilian race. They are not here for our own benefit. They've confused humanity by this control of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think people need to understand too, before the Anunnaki arrived, humans here, there's what I call the divine human blueprint. So the human blueprint was created as, when it was created, it was made of the best of all previous incarnations. So it's like, okay, we're going to take the best of this group of people and the best, and so this divine human blueprint was created. So human beings were multidimensional, higher dimensional beings, and then their genetic makeup became downgraded by these two individuals. So the story of the Garden of Adam and Eve is a story of what the planet looked like before these individuals arrived. It was a planet of peace and and love and all of that. We lived in what I call Gaia's garden. And then these serpent beings came and changed humanity's DNA. So people who think the Garden of Eden is actual true story, it's actually a parable that's been handed down about what happened during that particular time for humanity. And before Adam and Eve, there was Lilith, and she was a fifth dimensional being, and all of the magical creatures that lived here with her. And then Adam told God he wanted someone who wasn't his equal, someone he could, tell what to do. And then the Anunnaki provided that, right? They downgraded the feminine to be a servant of the masculine and created their patriarchies and all of that. So I don't know. I'd like your feedback about that.
Well, you have to understand that these are warlike gods. So they came down here. Think about this. When I look up at the sky today and I see chemtrails, Victoria, I'm wondering who the heck thinks that they could destroy humanity like this, that they can pollute our air and our water, and what kind of beings are they that can actually live on that kind of air and water? So we've been taken over. We've been taken over for thousands and thousands of years by a warlike race that ruled by frightening and threatening to murder and kill us all the time. Mm-hmm. So I actually believe that a lot of our issues as a warlike, humanity, quote, is somehow warlike. Well, the people really aren't, but they have responded to the fear and the control that we've had from above down. So even a story that I read about Abraham. So Abraham was actually one of Enki's creations, and was worshiping Enki until he was told to murder and kill his firstborn. And if you recall the story, he went and he was about to slay his firstborn, and suddenly the angel came and held and stopped him, if you recall the story. And so what happened was, as a result of that one thing, then Abraham's allegiance went from Enki, who was more the kinder, to now a supporter of Enlil. Why? Because Enlil said, either you do what I tell you, or I'm going to take your life. So these are the gods that have walked among humanity. These are the gods of the Bible, by the way. Enki and Enlil both have a place in the Bible. We see them as Jehovah. We have different names, Yahweh, Jehovah for God. But when we invoke them, are we really invoking the kind of gods that we're thinking about? So when I think of God, Victoria, I think of a loving God. I have, ever since the day I read in the Bible, these are the days when the sons of God mated with the daughters of men, I felt like that God was neurotic. I couldn't understand why God was not this kind being, and why he was having us, destroy Jericho, tear down the walls. And so those are the people who established our races of humanity.
Right. Well, what people don't understand is, as I was saying, I think another conversation we had, that there are two gods in the Bible, the God of fear and the God of love. The God of love did not tell them to tear down Jericho. That was the God of fear. And these Anunnaki set themselves up as gods. Literally, for them, the message I was getting is that they were attempting to usurp God, to set themselves up as creators, and even attempt to usurp source creator. And that but they're not. They called themselves gods, but they're not. And so that's one of the reasons I wanted to let people know that the Nephilim and Elohim are not that either. So there are people that think that the Elohim and the Anunnaki are the same. The Elohim are the ones who came here and created the planet and created the divine human blueprint and supports humanity. They are not the same. They're also not the same. The Elohim report directly to source and serve source love only. But the Anunnaki didn't. The Anunnaki wanted to go off and be their own creator gods and create their own race. And so they set themselves up with this planet to be the gods of the planet.
So but they were in a form, they were not in an angelic form, or, they were actually in a physical body here on the planet.
Right.
So thus they set themselves up as physical gods to be worshipped. And so there's a hierarchy, and our religions are based on that. So the Catholic religion, all of these religions are actually based on a fearful God that we have to worship and obey and give our power to. Now, the Anunnaki discovered that they could not leave the planet. Okay, so if they stayed here for a certain amount of years, they could not, because they're going around the sun is something like 3,200 years in a year for them. So they live longer than us, because 1 year is 3,200 of our years. They could not return to their planet. So many of them have gone underground. They still rule our planet. I still believe that they rule the planet. They are the controllers. We see their descendants in some of the rulers that are still ruling on the planet, and that rule by what they call the divine right of kings, by the divine right of God, that they have this Anunnaki seed in them, which is, quote, the blue blood, and that gives them the divine right to rule. So you'll see that some of the kings and queens all say that they've been given that divine right to rule from God. And that's the Anunnaki God. So they are still here on the planet. They are still controlling us. They are manipulating everything. They're the ones who have that agenda of taking away humanity's freedoms, taking away humanity's right to question.
Right. And when there gets to be too many of us and we get out of control, they create an extinction event.
Yes. And so we are right now. And the reason this is so important is that they have created an extinction event here. We are undergoing Now, the last extinction event wasn't that long ago. It was only a few hundred years ago. And obviously we have regrown massively, 7.5 billion people. And yes, we are undergoing a great reset. And it's important to know that this is not for our highest good, that this is an agenda that's to wipe the planet out. Basically, they wanted only 500 million people left on the planet so they could start again, which also tells us that they've done that many times before. This time, though, and I think this has backfired on them because of the internet, because we still have ways of connecting with each other, people have been uncovering the secret history of the planet through ancient architecture, through the ancient trees, through the ancient giants that we see that still remains. We are piecing together an alternative history on the planet, which includes like how many resets have we had?
Mm-hmm. Well, and we're also creating an alternate future that was not what they had planned. I believe their extinction event plan is going to fail this time because there's so many of us that know what they're up to. And it's not going to work this time.
It's not going to work. And so many of us, we've lost our lives in many of those lifetimes. Okay, you and I, Victoria, I can't even tell you how many lifetimes we spoke the truth. We lost our head. You healed someone and they got better.
Yeah, and I actually remember one of my beheadings. Yeah.
And notice even nowadays, this pattern is repeating itself. You tell the truth, you get censored.
Right.
You tell the truth, you get put in prison. You tell the truth, you are being shot down. So they're repeating the same patterns. But I have been promised, when I came out as Joan of Angels, Joan of Arc, Joan of Angels, my guides assured me, because I was a little like, okay, she didn't have a great ending, Joan of Arc. And the fear came up in me, like, oh my God, what am I taking on? And they assured me that we are not going to lose our lives this lifetime.
Yep.
And that this great awakening, not only because there's so many of us, but it is also destined that this is the time that humanity will overthrow these controllers.
So I got exactly the same message when I first started discovering who I am and having past life memories. I asked my team, I was like, I don't know, because I've been murdered every time. And I got the same thing you got, that not this time. This time we are guaranteed to live long, happy, healthy, prosperous lives. And
yes, we are, and that's the promise. But again, you remember, we get back to faith, confidence, and belief. Right. In order to keep our frequency high, so in order for this to unfold, we have to actually believe in our ability and the promise as humans to restore our sovereignty. And we have to act like we have it, even if it looks like we don't, by the controllers. Okay, so the controllers have one agenda, and our agenda right now is to stand up for our freedom and to stand tall and to remember who we are and why we're here, and to not let it, and to keep your vibration high.
Right.
And not fall for, the lies that we're being told, that art of discernment that you've been talking about.
Yeah, and what they're really trying to do is terrorize humanity as much as possible, because if they can keep us in fear, they can keep us under control. So it's so important to keep ourselves out of fear. Even when we see what looks like the world falling apart, which actually is part of the process, the existing systems have to fall apart. Those systems were all created by the controllers to control us. We need those systems to fall apart. So they may have a plan to implode their systems so they can reconstruct new systems, but it's really important that people recognize that deconstructing other systems is also an important part of us reconstructing a world in the way that works best for humanity. So rather than going into fear and saying, oh my gosh, it's all falling apart, understand, stay in a vibration of love and not allow yourself to go into fear over that, because that implosion is part of the plan of bringing down these controllers and removing these beings from our planet. These beings are all being disinvited from our planet. They're being rounded up. They've been rounded up from underground for the last 2 years. Pretty much all that's left are the surface dwellers. And they are going to be disinvited. They might not have been able to figure out how to get off this planet, but our benevolent ET friends do know how to get them off this planet. So.
Yeah. So a few things I want to point out. That there may be a false alien invasion flag, false flag that resembles an alien invasion. Like what was that great movie? You know, some of those movies where they're attacking. Yes. And,
Right.
and they may be planning that as part of a fear thing that could be coming into that. And all we could say is trust your higher power, trust that you're here to help this uplifting and freeing of humanity. It is going to take all of us. You know, I'm reminded of Star Wars, and I just keep thinking of her now in Star Wars. It's like they didn't have a choice. They needed to free their planetary system. We need to free our Earth from the controllers because they're controlling the water we drink, the air we breathe, the food we eat. There is nothing, everything on our planet has been tainted so that to kill us, basically to exterminate the human race. And I know this sounds extreme, but we have the ability as creator gods to create the new earth and to see this ascension timeline unfolding and manifesting in this most perfect way.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, when we talk about creator gods, it's not to say that we are all gods, that we all have that creator within us, every single one of us. What's one thing that's so amazing about the human blueprint is that the human mind is so powerful, it can create simply by thought and by vision. So the controllers know that. That's why they have television. They tell us what they want us to create because our vision is so powerful. And they don't actually have that ability. They can create a plan, but we are such powerful beings. They need us to create their vision on their behalf. So we just choose. I'm not going to infuse my energy into your vision. Sorry. I'm not going to fall for the fear. Doesn't work on me. So it's really, really important that we understand how powerful we are. Human beings are one of the most powerful beings in the universe. We were created to be creators. And that we just need to remember our true divine potential. We can actually undo all the damage that's been done to our DNA when enough of us believe it, because that's how powerful our minds are. And to stay out of the fear, because like I said, they know if they can keep us afraid, they can keep us controlled. If they can keep us divided, which is why they've created all of these different divisive labels, right? Left, right, black, white, man, woman, old, young, gay, straight, creating, you know, Catholic, Mormon, right, left, pick your labels. All of those labels were created to keep us divided and conquered. When enough of us understand those labels exist just to keep us under control and refuse to align with those labels and instead come together in unity of the heart and understand that love is the most powerful force in the universe, and the love in our heart is going to dismantle all these old systems. And when we raise our vibration enough, they can't even exist in our presence because they can't. Their vibration is so low, they can't exist here with us. So we need to not allow ourselves to go into fear and hold the love and the unity for all life on earth. And this, every single one of us play that role. We all are the ones we've been waiting for. And when enough of us own that inside of ourselves, that old world will be dismantled and they will be disinvited from our earth experience.
Well, and so it is. This is our planet.
That's right. We're taking it back.
And this is our planet. You know, we did that show this morning, and I was thinking, there I was, Joan of Arc, holding the flag of freedom over the whole entire earth. And I think that's true. You know, and you and I both come from the angelic realms. And I literally see the angel brigade gathering because that is one of the highest vibrational forces. And so we're joining forces, I always think, circling the earth, bringing those higher vibrational frequencies.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and you're right. It's like I say all the time, this is my home, this is my planet, and you are no longer welcome here, those other beings.
That's wonderful. This is our planet, guys.
Yeah, we got to take ownership of it. This is ours. You guys are not welcome here anymore. Thank you for the contrast and all of the learning experiences that humanity has experienced over the millennia. And that time is complete. we're done with this being a learning planet. We now want this to be a planet of peace. We now want what we've been promised, which is
Yeah, we do.
1,000 years of peace and
Mhm.
prosperity. And, we say it all the time, but every time somebody asks, Miss Universe, what do you want? Well, peace on earth, right? And we talk about peace on earth all the time. And we sing all the Christmas songs about peace and love. This is it. Deep within the heart of every human being is the desire for peace on earth. We arrive there by no longer seeing each other as enemy and recognizing that the enemy the enemy of peace is actually these controllers who are trying to keep us divided and conquered and keeping each other as the enemy. Because as long as we see each other as the enemy, they can keep us under control. They can keep us enslaved to their systems.
And I think it's important to understand that Earth has been an enslaved planet. Alex Jones talks about prison planet. It's true. And I didn't believe that for many years. It was like, what is he talking about? But it has been.
Yeah.
And
so it wasn't always that way.
And so the agenda that is unfolding right now in these times of which all of us have been chosen to be here for, because Spirit knew that we had exactly what we need to help, quote, take back our planet, take back our sovereignty. And so, yes, we've been called for these days. And it is our pleasure. It's also a little frightening. There have been moments where I've had to take a deep breath and say, okay, this is big. I think I'll just go cook dinner now, chop vegetables, carry water, and do my human thing as I stand tall and believe that we will prevail. And so keep fighting for freedom, keep fighting for those doctors and lawyers and Indian chiefs who are supporting humanity. And understand that we are it's beyond a spiritual war. I called it a spiritual war, dark versus light. But I think it's even beyond that. It is the war I think it's the war for humanity.
It is.
For the soul and of our planet, and for humanity, and we don't know what it's like to be a free people. We have never been in my time, we have not been a free race. That's all I am privileged to say, but we can create that.
Well, I don't think, humanity hasn't been free since,
Ever.
Well, it's been at least 11,000 years. There was a time, as I said, where this was a higher dimensional planet and it got downgraded and the human beings got downgraded.
Yes, there were times, but they weren't. Yes, there were times, and we don't even know them because it's not like we're given access to see that whole pure view of everything that's happened on the planet.
Right.
But know that right now this is a timely matter. What is going on right now, that those Anunnaki have gone underground or are still here, shapeshifters personified. They have not left. Their agenda is the same as it was when they first came here for the complete control of our planet. And you can see it by what they've done to the air, the water, and the food, and the diseases, and the cancers that can't get treated. And you can see it in the fact that they are now promoting an agenda that's not for the wellness of humanity.
Right. And so they are not creator gods. They're not, they like to think they are, but they're not.
Right.
And actually they're destroyer gods, which is interesting because they have no qualms about destroying their own creations. That is not the God of love. That is not divine source. And people have asked me, well, how is it that God allows all of this to go on? Well, source creator is love, and it creates all that it doesn't destroy. And so the destruction that we see is because beings are given freedom of choice. Every creation that is created has, or every across the universe, is freedom of choice, right? And because of freedom of choice, even these guys were allowed freedom of choice. And so my understanding is, as of about a year ago, the galactic or the Universal Council got together and said, we're changing the prime directive from freedom of choice to conscious choice. So that is actually going to be shifting, where humanity is now going to be able to make conscious choice. And conscious choice comes from being mature enough to take a look at everything that's out there, looking at the whole entire buffet of information and choosing what really is our highest and greatest good. No longer coerced choice, no longer manipulated choice, and instead conscious choice. And that also takes a tremendous amount of self-responsibility, which humanity has never experienced.
Well, and our memories are gone. So
Right.
when you're a race of people that don't know where you came from, don't know your history, don't know your background, your skills, don't know anything about the last, except the lies we've been told, then we cannot, it makes it harder to reboot, to restore yourself, to even access all those powers that you had, because we came in here, not only did we have amnesia just from coming down, but the planet has amnesia. The books that could have told us what happened on the planet were burned, not just one time, but many times. And so anytime there's been truths that could tell us our greatness and what we're capable of, but they've been removed.
Right.
So we basically, and we can't look to each other for that. We can only look around and try to uncover truth.
Right. Yeah. So we've been basically been given collective amnesia. We can't even remember the choices we made in the last lifetime. Right.
Right.
We might have if a memory is traumatic enough, we might have a past life death memory, but we don't remember the choices that we made. I mean, in my last lifetime, I remember a couple of little things because they were so traumatic, but we don't remember all the lessons that we learned in the last lifetime. And it's that karmic cycle always repeating itself, because they say you have to make the same mistake over and over again before you finally learn the lesson. But if you can't remember what the lesson was from the past life, how do you not repeat it again?
Right. No, it's true. And you find yourself repeating patterns over and over and over again, lifetime from lifetime, and you don't even know why. Right. And yes, so I understand that about conscious choice. And remember, we are, both of us interviewed Ishmael Perez, and one of the things he said was that as we grow, we will become creator gods. All of us will be able to create our own universes. And, the way to manifest this new earth is to start to visualize exactly what we want when we have taken back the planet and taken back our resources. How do we want to be? How do we want to live? How do we want to share? How do we want to collaborate with those of like mind to create a healthy and happy, vibrant life for ourselves and all of humanity?
Absolutely. And that's why I was saying about the power of vision. We need to know what it is we want. We need to envision the kind of world we want to create and start infusing our energy into that vision, rather than what people have been doing, which is infusing their energy into what it is they don't want. Let's stop thinking about what it is we don't want, because the universe doesn't work that way. The universe assists us in creating whatever it is we focus on. So as long as we're focusing on everything that's wrong with the worlds, more of that is going to be created. Our vision creates our reality. So we need to all shift our vision to the world we wish to see be created. It's already created in the etheric realm. We just need to physically manifest it here through our vision and through our words and through our deeds and through our thoughts. We create it. We are the creators. And we stop whining and complaining and bitching about how nobody else is doing their part, and understand every single one of us play a vital role in the creation of our new earth.
It's true. And find your tribe of higher vibrational people who believe that we can transform this planet into that new earth, and that hold those values of sovereignty, of freedom, of personal power. Those are the people, those are your tribe. The ones who don't conform, the ones who are, like the tarot deck that I've been using these days is the sacred rebel. Those who, it's not that we don't say yes, it's that we consciously choose what we say yes to,
right,
and what we'll say no to. So one of my shows, someone wrote that we need to be unmanageable, ungovernable. There were some words that I really like, in reframing ourselves, because conscious decisions, conscious choices.
Right.
And pick people like Victoria as your friends, guys. People, I feel really blessed, guys. You know that Victoria and I are friends, in full disclosure, we are very good friends, but because we inspire each other and we bring out the best in each other, find people that think like you do, not clones of you, but that you bounce ideas off of. And when you leave that encounter, you feel like, oh my God, I feel better than ever. I feel so inspired. I'm just ready to lift off.
Absolutely. And there are a bunch of us here. So if you feel like you're alone, you're not. There are actually hundreds of millions of us here. And we're actually being called to start creating, meeting each other and creating community and really, one of the things Joan and I do is as she was saying, we bounce ideas off each other at home. We are always intercreating, and we are past the time of competition. Remember, competition exists as part of that old reality. It was created by these guys to keep us in competition because competition keeps us under control. As long as we think that each other are the enemy, then we can't see who's really controlling us. And so that time of competition is part of the old world that we're letting go of. Now this new world we're moving into is collaboration and cooperation. So we actually will be co-creating many things, and together we as one humanity are co-creating an entirely new world. So let go of all this BS belief system right? About competition, because it's part of the false narrative. Human beings are not competitive by nature. Human beings are compassionate by nature. We've been fed the lie that we're competitive by nature. So don't buy that anymore. It's not true. Right. It was a lie that was to keep us divided and conquered and under control.
No, it's true. Humans don't start wars. Governments do. And that's another story.
Right. And who runs the governments? These groups of people that think that they are entitled to control the rest of us. And and so for one thing I wanted to mention before we leave is that for those of you who are asking the question, how do I raise my consciousness? Because people have been talking the past few years about leaving the fear-based consciousness and into a love-based consciousness, 3D to 5D, pick the label that works for you. Basically is leaving the prison planet to the freedom planet, the fear-based planet to the love-based planet, the hell on earth to heaven on earth, 3D to 5D. Pick whichever, the one that you resonate most with. How do you raise your vibration out of fear and into love? And so I wanted to, with Joan and I both help people with that. If that's something you really want to learn how to do, both of us help with that. There's no competition between the two of us at all. We actually refer people back and forth all the time because we both, people gravitate to her more and some people gravitate to me more, and we do very similar work. And we're what I call FBFs, forever best friends. So Joan,
what is an FBF? Forever best friends. And that means it was last life.
No, that means we've been friends.
This planet, all planets, this dimension, all dimensions. Yeah, find your tribe, guys. Yep. Those people who support you to be the best that you can be, because all hands are needed on deck. We need you to wake up. We need you to get out of that amnesia. Like, we can't stay in that place anymore. Every one of you is important in where we're going now.
And stop thinking somebody else is going to come and save you, because it doesn't work that way.
Oh, darn it.
No. The gods aren't coming back to rescue us. This is about us rescuing and saving ourselves. And it's in every single one of us. It's in every one of us to be free. We just need to own that inside of ourselves.
And Victoria, you represent freedom. You know what it's like. And guys, and you have to sometimes fight for your freedom. You have to claim it. You have to go, you know what? Joan and Victoria are right. Like, this planet is a mess. You can't even live healthily on here anymore. And it is time to reclaim it. So
that's right. Taking back our home. Going back to Gaia's garden.
All right.
Okay.
I think we've said it all. It's
wonderful to see all of you here. I'm going to let Joan close out. I'll do my closing, which is remember to hold your light so high others can't help but see their own light. Together we are creating a world of peace, harmony, prosperity, and love for all life on earth. And as always, get bold, be fearless, and live free. Joan? Do you want to
Oh,
close
I
out?
love your closing. Oh my God. I don't have a closing like that. All right, well, I'm going to give it the best I can. Guys, we were born for this. You are here to do exactly what your best gifts, your best skills, and we're here to do it together. So remember that. Just take a deep breath and just go, I am free to be me. I am here for a reason. I know who I am, and I'm stepping in and claiming my destiny. And so, as always, guys, we're stepping into the miraculous, and let's do you perfectly well. And so it is. We'll see you all next
So it
time.
is.
People remember who they are and feel into their power, feel into what their gifts and their skills are. I've really helped people let go of what no longer serves them and transform that into fuel for their mastery, for them to shift their life into the positive. The magic happens when you can hear your heart sing. Literally hear your heart sing. I just want you to know you were born for this, that you have everything you need to really do you this lifetime. So let's get started. Let's make magic